If you're an entrepreneur, you're out there on your own, you're bumping up against objections, but you can't go to your competitors to be like, how do I get through this? All of those things gone. Here in a franchise, it's totally collaborative.
Welcome to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast, a show where we interview high voltage entrepreneurs growing and scaling through e-commerce, real estate, and other wealth without Wall Street ventures, showing you the path to making your first or next million. Hi folks, welcome back to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. I'm excited to be here with you today. As always, help me beat big corporate tech and the machine, and like, comment, engage. Even if you put something stupid in the comments, I don't care. It will help social media gain traction. Always love a little conflict marketing. So if you don't like anything about today, or you love something about today, I don't care. Just comment, engage, like, subscribe. Help us beat big tech. Get the message out today because you're going to want to learn about what this guest has to talk about today. So today we're going to step into the spotlight with Kim Daly. She's a franchising guru who's turned the dream of business ownership into reality. If you're tired of the corporate grind, Kim's here with a treasure map to franchise a gold mine, whether you're craving the thrill of a full-time business adventure or just want to dip your toes while clutching to your 9-to-5 lifeline. Kim's got you covered. Get ready to mix passion, profit, and a pinch of daily wisdom into your success cocktail. Join us as we unwrap the secrets to franchising wealth, one groundbreaking brand at a time. Your empire waits, and Kim Daly is the key. Hi, welcome to the show.
Well, that was awesome, Neil. Thank you so much.
Did you like that one?
I do like that one.
Did I beat the other guy's intro?
I think so.
All right.
The daily wisdom. I mean, I'm going to
the daily wisdom,
with my kids.
Hey, you could take that out and use it in social media now and have fun with it with the daily wisdom.
That's good.
You doing okay today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's sunny and beautiful out here and the weather's great. And unfortunately, I've got a guy who had to take a tree down right next to our house, a huge tree, just enormous. And I didn't want to have to take it down because it didn't look like it was dying, but it's setting right against the house. And it's just one of those ones I've been staring at it for a decade. And I'm like, man, does this thing need to come down or whatever? And so he got through all of it yesterday. And so now I have to clean it all up, which is a huge mess. But as it turns out, we were like, please be something wrong with the tree. I know this sounds really stupid. We're like, something wrong with this tree. Please be something like we wanted to validate that this whole like beautiful tree that had to come down made sense. And there was one section underneath that was rotting at the corner edge that was going to eventually break off one main section and hit the house. Yay for validation.
It feels good.
I'm sure you all tuned in today to hear about trees.
Yeah.
But let's get into...
You gain a lot of sunlight, though? Sometimes when you take the tree down, you're like, wow.
A lot of sunlight. Yes. And now I'm less concerned that the tree is going to destroy the house and the addition that we should put on and all that.
There's a positive.
But it's so weird to look out and not see it. Like, you can analogize the forest through the trees, literally.
Totally.
Because everything seems closer now that the tree is gone. It's a strange perception in reality. And I think that sometimes this ties into this conversation of perception or reality and hanging on to that 9-to-5 lifetime gig and just hanging on, right? And yet wondering, could I do something else? Could I get involved in a business? Could I build? What do you say about that?
Hey, man, if you are interested, you just got to be willing to be curious, ask questions, explore, because you never know. What if it did work out for you? That's what I'd say, Neil. What if it did?
Yeah. Everybody else goes to the what if it fails, right? What if it fails? What if it fails? But what if it works out?
What if it does? Is it the end of the world? So if we're looking at a franchise business and we're doing it the way that I do it, I'm not going to have you put you in a position where you're betting the farm, right? We're not going to leverage so much of your assets that you're like screwed. That's silly. No. So it all comes down to what are you investing in? And then why are you going to fail? Like, you have to look rationally, because fear just makes us crazy. And we all start thinking irrationally. So if this is where we're starting, it's like when you look at the statistics of success in a franchise, which they disclose to you in their legal documentation, and let's say that they have a track record of 10 years and 94% of their franchisees are successful still in business, why are you going to be in the 6%? Why focus on the 6 versus the 94? Like, if you can't get past that, then you know what? Probably don't invest in a franchise. But if you go, oh, okay, you're right, Kim. Like, if 94% of the people have been successful, let's start thinking about what do I have to wake up and do to be successful? How do I have to grow? And who do I have to become? And how are they going to help train me to be in the 94%?
So there's a lot of myths about that. Like, you couldn't start this when you have a 9-to-5. I have to dedicate all my time and energy and attention. I don't want to manage a bunch of 15-year-olds behind a counter at an ice cream shop. Yep. Let's get past some of those myths for a second. Can you dispel some of the most common ones for us today here?
There are so many myths and misconceptions. You just said it. So first of all, let's start with the biggest one. Franchising, I'm not interested in that because that's only food and retail, and I don't see myself owning a Subway. Okay. Right. So as America's top franchise consultant, you will have to beg me to show you food, right? I am not going to bring you food unless you're begging me, because there's easier, faster, better ways to make money. There are so many businesses out there that are franchise businesses that you are probably not even aware of, but I am. I have 22 years of relationship experience and knowledge that you get to leverage for free when we work together. So that's the first one.
Not DoorDash, basically.
The second biggest myth in franchising is I don't have an MBA. I don't have any business ownership experience. How can I expect to go on and be successful? That is absolutely a myth. The vast majority of people I work with are probably people just like you listeners out there, right? They've thought about it, but they have a job. It's hard to change your life when you're comfortable, right? So like you have this job, you're like, I think I want to own a business, but you never really do anything about it. Maybe you meet someone like Kim Daly and you think, wow, maybe it is possible, but you still have to get motivated to reach out to me, because changing your life takes a little bit of action. But you do not need an MBA. If you needed prior business ownership experience or even specific industry experience, right? Like say you're going into a plumbing industry, let's just pick that. And you're like, I'm not a plumber. Well, you're not running a business and being the plumber, right? That's buying yourself a job. In the plumbing industry, let's say that's a franchise, you're going to leverage somebody else's plumbing license and they're going to do the work. Oftentimes in the trade franchises, you're not even competing against Joe Trade Guy. Yep. You're using him to do the work. And the reason he'll do the work is because he knows he doesn't want to do the business side. He just wants to go from job to job. That's
so true, right?
Right?
Stay in your lane, right?
Yeah. So you, the business owner, get to be the sales and marketing aspect of the plumbing business, delivering that quality to the homeowner, who, by the way, let's be real, sometimes the trades guys are hard to work with. So now I'm working with an intelligent business owner who's helping me solve the problem and then bringing in the trades guy who's going to do the hands-on work. Those are a couple of the biggest myths. You know what? I'll throw in one more. Okay. On the flip side, I think really intelligent people, maybe you went to Yale or maybe you have an MBA, you kind of look down on franchising like, I don't need a franchise because I'm smart enough to go start it on my own. I love that conversation even more. I dare you to call me. One of my biggest advocates today is a guy who graduated from the Sloan School at MIT. Super, super smart business guy. Worked out of college, went into mergers and acquisitions, private equity. He was a know-it-all, but he dared to call me because he was curious. Today, he is my best referral source. He owns a massive franchise business in Boston. And so I dare you to call me if you have those thoughts.
Yeah, right. And I love that. And it really, again, we've talked about this before and people have heard me say this. It's who you know that gets you there and it's what you know that keeps you there. And at the end of the day, you've got to be connected to the right people and the right places and the right seat and the right bus, to borrow a phrase from Jim Collins and Good to Great. But even having no degree or experience in certain areas and not having an MBA or whatever, and frankly, not going to college myself, I can tell you that a lot of things you will learn hands-on in the actionable and accountable stages of the business. So don't be afraid to get started in learning how to do this thing. If you really understand how to get it going, business is something that can be learned and it's a skill that can be gained. And by the way, I went to college up to 30 hours left of my degree, and I never discovered the things I've learned doing it in business that they were trying to teach me in theory.
That's so true.
I'm big into alternative education, in case you didn't notice.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I totally agree with you. Like that 150 grand or whatever you're going to spend on an MBA, buy a business and get in there. Figure it out in real life, because you're going to learn way more and you're going to get a better ROI for that. Yeah. Unless
I would even argue build versus buy, or buy, build. I mean, be a combination of learning and training and growing in it and learning. Let's answer that question to you. How does somebody who has no experience in one of these franchises glean that particular knowledge if they're going to buy in, or should they build in and then buy? Or how does this kind of process make the most sense?
Oh, so great question, Neil. So when you buy the franchise, you're buying training. So if they needed you to have experience, they would tell you had to have experience, because they don't want to award you a franchise that you're going to fail in. No franchisor wants to disclose failure in that legal documentation, which they have to disclose, right? Because that makes it harder for future investors to look at it and not be nervous. So when you're buying the business in a box, what does that mean? You're paying a franchise fee, and the franchise fee, I call that the cost of entry into their Disneyland. So somebody's gone out and figured out how to make money in a particular way, serving a particular customer. They figured out the messaging. They know where to spend the marketing dollars. They know how many marketing dollars. They know how many customers to get. They know what the price point the customer is going to bear, how to overcome the competition. They know where to place the store or how to design a territory map, all the things that when you're an entrepreneur, you have to stop and figure out on your own, which is why 90% of small businesses fail, because people run out of money and time and energy trying to figure it out. But in a franchise, that 90% failure statistic is not owned because we're not figuring out anything. Somebody else already figured it out and figured out how to make it successful. Yeah. So you pay the franchise fee and you get instant access to all of those ready-made tools. Initial training, every single franchise has the equivalent of what they call Hamburger University at McDonald's, right? Everybody has a training school. Sometimes it's at-home modules, and then you go to a classroom at the corporate office for 5 days. Sometimes you go to a corporate office, and then they send field support people back to you to help you get your first 1 or 2 weeks under your belt, depending on what it is. So every franchise offers training and ongoing training. And then if you really look at what a franchise is, Neil, it's a giant mastermind. So it's not just a one-time, okay, they trained me, now I'm on my own. You may be assigned a weekly coach that you have to check in with and going to hold you accountable and make sure that you're doing the right things and you're feeling good. But you may also form an accountability group with other franchisees because you're all living the same life. So even though you're in different states, the business works the same. If you find people that you resonate with and you're like, hey, let's just get together every other week and let's put our goals in front of each other and hold each other accountable. And let's bring objections. So I keep getting these sales objections. Do you get them? And somebody says no. You're like, coach me through that. What are you doing that I'm not doing? How could I do it better? So all of the things that if you're an entrepreneur, you're out there on your own, you're bumping up against objections, but you can't go to your competitors to be like, how do I get through this? All of those things gone. Here in a franchise, it's totally collaborative. Everybody's a shareholder in the same brand. Everybody wants everybody to win because when we're all winning, the brand equity is growing. And that means when you get ready to sell your business, you have a higher multiple that you can attach to that exit.
Now you're speaking my language. Yeah. I love it. So here, I got some questions for you out of that because there's a lot to unpack in what you just said. And let me try to get these out correctly in order. So the first one that came to mind was, what if I am not near the location, or do I have to be near a location of a franchise that I'm buying into? Or can I be in one state and then operate in another? Do I have to be in a specific area?
So great question. It probably depends on the franchise and then it depends on the owner. So most franchisors would want you to start close to home so that even though you may not you're not going to be in it, you may be what we call a semi-absentee owner running it through a manager. It still needs the leader to be building that culture and making sure the customer experience is dialed in, and being closer to it keeps you closer to it, right? You're more likely to be like going to the gym. Yeah. If your gym is super far away, it's easy to be like, I'm not going to get there today, right?
Right, I'm not going to go there.
You can't create that excuse.
I have to get in the car, I have to walk there, and then I have to go in the building. It's like, that's too much exercise. That's too much work.
There are some franchises that are built more for real GM salary built into it, like Big Blue Swim School comes to mind. And you probably don't have to do that right in your backyard. And there are other franchises that work like that are, Well,
there are certain ones, like 20-ish years ago or a little bit longer, my uncle mentioned that I should get into 1-800-Dumpster. And I didn't. Was that a bad move? Should I got into 1-800-Dumpster?
I mean, not if you're happy now. No, it's not a bad move. But,
well, I'm happy now. But I mean, it seems like such a cool idea. And the reason I bring it up is literally yesterday I was watching this young guy, 25, 28, and he is buying dumpsters at about 10, 12,000, and they're hookup trailer, double axle trailer dumpsters. And he's parking 3 of them in a lot in Miami, Florida. People are basically paying him $200 to $300 a day to rent those trailers. It costs him $200 a month to maintain the trailer, another $40 in insurance. And so if he rents them for a day and a half, he's paid for the trailer for the month, and everything in the rest of the month is profit. It's a cool little hustle. And it just reminded me of the 1-800-Dumpster opportunity. He's making his own little side hustle gig, just renting out dumpster trailers in Miami, Florida. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
There are so many ways to make money. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's where it gets down to the like analysis paralysis we have, I think, which with a lot of people, they see so many options now, and there are so many options now that it makes it difficult. So if someone's new and they're in that acquiescing mode and they're just like, I have seen so many things, what are maybe the top 3 kind of franchise ideas you might suggest for somebody this year if they're looking at doing these kind of bit small?
Well, number one, this is why I have a business. To go it alone is crazy because there are 3,000 to 4,000 businesses out there that are franchises. I don't even know where you would begin. How do you know what you can afford? How do you know, like, if you want to be semi-absent, does that franchise allow you to be semi-absent? Is the franchise you're looking at even open in your backyard, or is the territory sold? Because sometimes people come in, empire builders come in and buy 3, 5, 10 licenses, but your area is sold, but you may not see a store there or a 1-800 dumpster moving around in your area for 5 years later, right? Because they have a development agreement in which they open up various territories. So all of these things are unknowns. If you're out there on your own, you come to me, it's all known from day one. When you really start thinking though, like, what's the right franchise for me? What I really think of is, what are your goals? So when you project out 3 to 5 years from now, right, to me, the business is just the vehicle driving an outcome. So I'm way more interested in the outcome. Who do you want to be? Where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? How much money do you want to be making in 3 to 5 years? So we start with a lot of goal setting and dreaming exercises. And then I back end you in knowing, like, all the way down to, all right, so what kind of business owner do you see yourself being? Are you bringing like biz dev and prospecting and networking skill? Or are you like, wait, no, I'm not an extrovert, Kim. I want to be in the back of the business, right? Are you more of an HR person? So you want to be leading through a team of people and you enjoy the leadership role? Are you the executive that's just kind of like managing both of those through people and you're just want to be even removed one layer more? Do you want a big team? Some people tell me, my greatest joy in owning my business, Kim, is thinking about all the jobs that I've created and the families that my business supports. And then other people are like, heck no, I don't want to create jobs. Like, I don't want anybody working in my business. I'm like, okay, here's a laundromat. So like the criteria that I'm going to ask you, the questions I'm going to ask you will pull out from you, will enable you to start thinking visually about what this environment looks like, all the way down to even how do you dress when you go to work, right? Like, are you a professional walking into a professional office suite? Or are you like a more blue collar guy? Like, I'm good in jeans and a company polo, Kim, and walking into that industrial, like off the beaten path office. It's not fancy. Do you want to be customer facing if you're selling a California closet, walking into someone's beautiful home, sitting and designing with them on some fun, cool architectural software, like what their pantry is going to look like or closet's going to look like? Or you're like, I never want to be in someone's home, right? I want them to come to me. I want to be in a brick and mortar location. So all of these things are options. Yep, and I mean, this is what I
got to kind of know where you want to go to some degree. Again, if you're clinging to that 9 to 5 lifeline, you got to have an idea of how you're going to get past it, how you're going to be able to do it during your current daily activities or weekly if you're family, et cetera. You got to find the time to dedicate to it, the attention, and put the energy into it. And of course, there's always the money factor that people are thinking about. What does it cost? Can I get in for 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 grand? Like, what do I have to do to get involved in the stepping stages in the process of replacing that income or building a new stream of revenue?
One of the very first conversations I have with everybody is very specific about money. Now, I can't make earnings claims and I can't really tell you what a specific business is going to cost you to open. It's not my job. That's the franchise. It's not
guaranteed. It's never about it. Yeah,
exactly.
I can't read the book very fast enough.
Exactly. No, that's the franchisor's job. But I can help set expectations about what different types of businesses cost and why, how time and money are related. The long and short of that is they're inversely related. So when you see lower investments in a franchise, it's typically a higher investment of owner time commitment. When you're more leveraged through location or general managers or stuff, you typically can see a lower time commitment by owner, but there's shades of gray all along that. So one of the very first conversations I have with everybody is teaching you what your money buys. And then we relate that to your net worth and what you're capable of investing in your mind. Because just because you have the money doesn't mean you want to invest that money. And then also there's lending. Banks love franchising. So are you open to leveraging money and only needing to put in the first 20 or 30% and letting the bank give you a loan? So all of these things factor into what that initial investment will cost you. But here's the other thing, Neil. Just like if you were to go into real estate, the wealth is not about owning one rooftop. It's leveraging your time across many. Well, the same thing will be true in franchising. So if you had the dumpster business, it's not about one dumpster, right? It's how do I leverage myself and get 50 dumpsters out there? If you had a cleaning company, it's not about one cleaning crew. It's about leveraging yourself to have 50 cleaning crews out every day, cleaning hundreds of homes, right? If you own a brick and mortar location, it's not about one. It's about leveraging yourself around 2, 3, 5, 10, depending on the unit economics.
Yeah. In the e-commerce world, it's the same deal. It's not one product. It's 5, 10, 20 products. It's a brand. It's a multitude. People have to stop thinking in short term and start thinking in long term and growth strategies. But
you start where you start, because sometimes people don't have that vision. So what I'm saying is sometimes it's getting past the financing for the first one, and then you start to plant the vision of, okay, then this is how I would get to number 2 and number 3. But you start where you start. Correct.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that banks do love franchising, and it's got to be because of the historical value of the corporation you're walking into, or the business you're walking into, that has the established sales, traffic, mechanisms, maybe established credit lines. I'm sure they have banks they can offer you that are already established that would almost immediately fund, as long as your credit score is above 600 or 700. But they'll immediately fund you for a franchise as long as you are under that umbrella.
Well, there are people in lending that only work with starting franchise businesses. So they know exactly, like I can get somebody pre-qualified within 1 to 2 business days once they've submitted their application, because these, brokers, if you will, they kind of do for the investors what I do in franchising, like bring all the options down to 3 to 5. My lending friends do, they know, oh, you're looking at supercuts. We know that Wells Fargo, North Dakota loves the candidate who has this much liquidity, this net worth, this type of credit score, looking to do a 5-unit deal. They know exactly where to shop your loan to get you the yes, and you don't have to worry about the banks that turn you down, which freaks everybody out. But oftentimes banks don't turn people down, they're turning the business down. But then oftentimes it's because they don't have enough exposure to lending to franchise businesses to know how to say yes safely. But that's why these brokers, if you will, can come in and cut through all of that and just bring you the yes right away.
And it's a cool thing for those who kind of want to get started with a little bit of the difference in safety net that comes along with that, because in the e-com world, you can't go to a bank and get financing at the end of the day. You have to look at alternative PE options, et cetera, or investments or capital liquidity investments.
It's a little bit Wild West.
Yeah, it's just a different kind of deal because the risk is up front. I mean, once you get to making the money, they want to loan you stupid money. It's easy, but they don't want that initial risk, which I like the way the franchising opportunity gives you that in the door opportunity if you're getting off the ground. So the question then would beg itself, if someone's listening to this, what's a good investment strategy to start off with? What's a good baseline of liquidity needs for somebody who wants to get involved? And what are some of the requirements, if I said go, that I'd need to bring to the table to even be eligible for any of the opportunities you're mentioning?
Yep. So you don't have to be an accredited investor for franchising. That's for sure. I would say minimal cash liquidity is probably 50 to 100 is good. The more cash you have, the better. It doesn't mean we're going to use the cash, but everybody loves to see liquid assets, right? Because if you get yourself in a cash crunch in a business, that's why 90% of businesses fail. They just run out of money. So cash is good. But also it's a balance between cash and being an experienced investor, having other things on your net worth statement, like equity in a home or rental properties. That just gives the bank and the franchisor more confidence that you're an experienced investor, that you're financially stable. So franchisors often have a liquidity requirement, but then they sometimes have a net worth requirement. And the net worth requirement is sometimes set by vendors. So if a vendor is going to give you terms, let's say you have a budget blinds business and you're going to have a staple of the most frequently sold window treatments in an industrial storage facility, so that your competitive advantage is you can install same day or whatever. Yeah. Well, they're going to lend you though on terms, right? And so you're not going to pay them until you get paid by the customer. So sometimes you might see a net worth requirement of $250 or $350,000 for something like that. But sometimes brick and mortar businesses are setting their net worth requirement by what they know the landlord may require, or If the franchisor knows that they're going to go in because they're going to negotiate this lease for you and they're going to try to beat up the landlord and get really good lease, then they jack up those net worth requirements because that allows them to bring very qualified people to the landlord where they know they can get the front door beside Walmart every single time, right? Imagine how popular that space is, the door right next to Walmart, right? Everybody wants to be there. So that's a very competitive type of a situation. Certain franchisors, I know, they jack up those net worth requirements because they're going to go in and they may be $1 billion corporation talking to another $1 billion corporation. And that's why they negotiate the lease for you, because otherwise the front door beside Walmart is never going to be yours, right? So it's all strategically done.
Good. All right. A couple other questions here because we're kind of coming up on our time, but this has been fantastic. It's going fast and you have been a great guest. The question I have is there a question I didn't ask you? Is there something I didn't ask you yet in our conversation that you wanted to say or bring up that I hadn't brought up yet?
No, I mean, sometimes I think people, we talked about failure. I think people want to know, like, I'm a super, always validate with the top performing people. I'm the mindset coach. So I want you to find out why it is going to work, why it isn't going to work. But we started there, I think. So I think for any listener out there who's kind of more I'm a skeptic. I want to make it not work before I'm going to make it work. We can have that conversation. We had it a little bit today and I'm open to it. But I think you'll find that as a business owner, whatever you focus on expands. And so when you're looking to make it wrong, you're right. You're going to make it wrong. But if you're looking to make it right, you're also going to be right. You're going to be able to make it right. Yeah. That makes sense?
Yep. If you could pick 2 or 3 franchises this year that you think are good, maybe you're going into, what would you choose?
Oh, I have my favorites because I love favorite characteristics. I love low investment, low fixed costs, high margins. Who doesn't? Like your dumpster idea. So anything that caters to the homeowner, look, since 2020, when we all were home, that boom has not stopped. People are still spending money doing things in their home, whether it's power washing fences or putting up a fence or building patios. Look, who didn't get a puppy in 2020? The dog services franchises are out of control. Grooming, amazing business, right? Because if you don't already have a groomer and you have a doodle, you're screwed, right? But feeding the pets, grooming the pets, walking the pets, boarding the pets are awesome. Senior care, I love businesses that cater to kids. Parents never stop spending money on giving our kids the competitive advantage in sports or extracurriculars to have on their resume to go to college. These types of businesses are steady eddies. It doesn't matter what's happening in the economy if that's on your mind. If you have elderly parents or grandparents and they live far from you, or you just are busy with your kids and they need care, they have dementia, you got to pay to help. So those types of franchises are just exist no matter what.
And the aging. Those are fantastic ideas. Thank you for sharing those. All right, last question. If there was someone you could interview who you haven't spoken to yet, who would it be?
Oh my gosh, what an amazing question. Someone I could interview? I would love to know why Joe Rogan's show is so popular. I would want to know from Joe Rogan himself.
I would like to know the answer to that question too.
I'm gosh, as a podcaster, you put out so much amazing content and my growth is
You try to have these amazing guests. I guess you're just not. I don't know. That's a great one. So you want to interview Joe Rogan?
I think I'd want to interview him just from a business perspective to be what am I doing wrong, buddy?
I don't know him personally, but I might have a friend. Well, no, we'll figure it out. Because if you do, but me first though, if I get to, then I'll say, hey, you got me my friend Kim Daly. Okay, just out of fairness.
Pave the way for me, Neil.
All right, we'll do my best for you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing some good stuff with us today. If anybody is interested, how do they connect? Which is the best way to go get some daily wisdom from you?
So great question. If you go to The Daily Coach, my last name is Daly, thedailycoach.com. We have a really quick quiz on are you fit to own a franchise? And that will lead you to my ebook, which is how to pick a winning franchise, which will address even more things than we were able to discuss today. So go to the
All right, guys, remember, thank you so much. Whether you're craving the thrill of a lifetime or your business adventure, or you just want to stop clinging to the 9-to-5 lifeline, go hit up Kim Daly, talk about franchising, see if it's a good opportunity for you. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you.
Ask you this. If you're serious about building an e-commerce business starting on Amazon FBA, what if myself and my team worked with you one-on-one to execute the steps outlined in the podcast while helping you discover what the heck to sell, how to make sure it's profitable, and how to successfully launch a brand? Plus, how to do it under a consulting plus performance-driven model where I put a $10,000 skin in the game guarantee for those that show up and are serious about building a real business done with us. If yes, text keyword profit to +1 417 413 4209. That's 1 417 413 4209. And I will personally respond with a few simple questions. If you're not in the US or Canada, please visit voltagedm.com. That's voltagedm.com. Click Get Started and book a no-pressure discovery call with me or a member of my team to learn more about the Business Builders one-on-one coaching and mentoring for CEOs, entrepreneurs, and those looking to build an empire or retire using the power of e-commerce. Once again, thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode of the High Voltage Business Builders podcast.